But
Okay.
let me just say, they were not a film person. They were not a film person at all. So the first
Oh, sorry.
question
That was me. Sorry.
that they are, they found you, Sandy.
They're always finding me.
Yes,
That's that's my job though, is for you to find me or for me to find you. So there you go.
yes, yes, yes. So the first question I want to ask you is, when did you first know that you were going to be a filmmaker?
Well, first, let me give you a little background because I started really young in this business. I was an actress first, right?
Oh,
So we're talking young. So we're
yes.
talking I was an actress from 9 to 11 years old. And I'm sorry to all the actors out there, but I decided when I was 11, I was too smart to be an actress. So that I decided, I swear to you, and I do not come from a film family. I come from my father was a plastic surgeon, and my mother was the first computer consultant in the state of Florida. But I did have a heads up on computers very early before they were even,
Wow.
right? We had them in our house, so I learned computers. So then because I was this very, I want to say precocious, not precocious, but I was like, I wanted to learn. So I would be like, even when I was acting, and I did very well, my residuals helped pay for my college. So that, yes. So I would be
Wow.
like, going to the prop guy and saying, hey, I want to know what you do. And I would go to the, assistant director and say, hey, and they were like, I was annoying, but but they remembered me. So when I wanted to go actually into the industry, from at that age, so I'm like 12, 13 at this point, right? I got people's phone numbers, and I mean, I knew about networking before I should even know about networking. And I called them up and I said, can I please just volunteer? Can I volunteer on your set? And so they're like going, yeah, sure, we get free labor. Sure, we'll send her for coffee, whatever. But it didn't matter. So I didn't care. And my family thought I was crazy. They thought it was like, what, but they're like, they indulged in me because I was a good student. And they, so they're like, okay. So on the weekends or during the summer, that's what I started to do. So I was taken under wing when I was, probably 14 by, oh my God, and his last name, it comes to me, his last name was Cohen. Why am I forgetting his first name? But long story short, he said, I'm going to make you, like, I was young, right? So he said, I'm going to make you a producer, and I'm going to teach you what a producer does. You can never fuck up. I swear to you, that was what it was. And I was like so like nervous, right? But I learned, because I was so scared to make a mistake, right? I kind of learned to be pretty much a perfectionist at that point. So he took me under his wing. And
What
so,
kind of projects? What
well,
kind of
mostly at that time it was commercials. So, at that time
commercials?
it was mostly commercials, right? I didn't get
Yeah.
into, features, TV series until much later. So it was commercials. And so I started, actually, he put me to the task of, like, assistant coordinating and then coordinating and then, basically assisting him as a producer. And I was producing by the time I was 17, right? Now, I still went to college, everybody. I went to college. I'm going to tell you my whole life story. I went to college and I went to school in Syracuse for 3 years. And then I decided I'm going to quit school because I was
Was
already in the
that
business. Syracuse?
right? Was that film school? Was
Yeah,
that
film school.
yeah,
Yep. But I was already in the business. I was already
yeah.
doing work. And I moved back down to Miami, and my parents were like, you have to finish school. I basically took 3 years off from school, working constantly. And then I decided to go back to school and finish school. And then, because I was working in the commercial realm, I was producing commercials, either line producing, production managing, or producing commercials at that point. That when I finished school, literally, I had worked on a commercial that the ad agency said, we want to move you to LA. And I was like, okay, why not? You want to pay for my move? And then, I had no attachments, right? Sorry, it's getting warm here and cold here today. And so then I moved to LA, and I was an agency producer at this point, right? Now I was fairly young, and I was like an agency producer, but I learned literally in the first couple of weeks. I see Joan Gringer on there, and she's probably laughing. I learned in the first 2 weeks I really hated the agency side, but I decided to stay there a year because I said, you know what, you need to stay wherever you are because it doesn't look good. They moved me here. They were not happy when I actually, at a year when I decided that I was going to leave, but I needed to learn how the baby was birthed, you know. Meanwhile, making contacts while I was in Los Angeles. And I left after I was a year, and then I was freelance in Los Angeles, and then I went onto the feature side and was delving in the series side when I was in LA. I was there for a couple of years, and then I decided, okay, I want to move back
Wait,
to,
wait, wait.
yeah,
You can't skip over that. You can't skip
right.
over that. So you went into features.
Yeah, yeah. You know, like at this point, by the way, when I moved over to features, right, I started PAing again, right? Which I had never really done because
Uh-huh.
you have to work your way up, you know. But I was working, you know, I worked my way up. I was already, I think I was coordinating before I left LA, you know, at that point, and on the feature side, and dabbled a
Mhm.
little bit on series as day playing, right, kind of stuff. And then I decided a couple of earthquakes later, I decided I hated LA. And I was like, I am going to go home. I'm going to move back home and I want to bring this business home. That's what I decided. Now, this is where it gets pretty funny. When I came back, I decided that I'm going to I wanted to produce basically a short film, right? But it was a short film and it had a story and everything. I wanted to produce it for the office that I had right now. This is what's so weird. It was called Look Again. I wanted to produce this movie so that it could be used as a marketing tool because I felt that Miami was only being marketed for their beaches and palm trees. And this was to show that it was basically a little story about a film crew that comes, and they're only coming for beaches and palm trees. And they say, well, you know, can we show you some other things? And that's what we did. And so my office, which was at that time, Dick Rennick, who was Ralph Rennick's, you don't even know who Ralph Rennick is, but he was an icon here as an anchor on the news.
Ah,
His
yes, yes, yes.
brother, his brother was the at that point it wasn't even film commissioner, it was like a liaison or whatever it was. And I handed it to him and they used it for 15 years. You know,
Wow.
yeah, I know, right? So that's
Do
what's
you
so
remember
funny.
what year that was? Do you
Oh,
know
well,
what
yeah,
year?
I produced it it was 89, 1989.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is one of my, I think it must have been later than that. I'm not very good at dates, but I tell people this story all the time that when Bad Boys came out, which has to have been later than that, right?
Yeah, that was his, yeah, it was in 1995, 96, something like that was,
Okay, not that much later,
yeah.
right? But I talk to people about, oh, thank you, Vigi, 1993.
Oh, I'm sorry. The second one then was 95. I know there was one, right?
Okay.
Okay.
But so Bad Boys opens with a helicopter shot and it's
Yeah.
over the beach. So
Yeah.
we've got the beaches and the palm trees, and then it crosses over the waterway, the
Yeah.
interstate, whatever it's called, and then it gets to Miami. So it's from Miami Beach, then it crosses the water, it goes to Miami, and
Yeah.
then it flies over Miami, and then it gets real urban and real gritty, and then the camera slides down into this alleyway, the dirty alleyway, and that's where the film starts. And to
Right.
me, that was like, oh my God, this is the real Miami for the first
Right.
time.
Yeah, finally, right? It was, yeah, it was like the real Miami, not like what what's promoted, right? So
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah. But
They were ahead of their time, like Moonlight, it was like a Moonlight back then, right?
yes,
Back
yes, yes.
then.
But you were ahead of them. You were
Yeah,
ahead of Bad Boys because that
yeah,
was the first time I had seen that I
yeah.
had seen anything that wasn't palm trees and beaches,
Yeah,
you know?
I definitely, so that's how I basically, went about marketing, us just not even, intentionally so it could get work. So I'm marketing myself and
Yes,
marketing here, but saying, you can come here, you can shoot New York, you can shoot anywhere, USA, so that was when that started. And then I actually opened up my first of two production companies that was only dealt with commercials, right? And
hmm,
then, kind of a bit of a story. My father passed away, and I had to deal with some stuff. And so I decided to close the company because I couldn't pay attention to that. And I had to freelance at that point. So then that's when I crossed over into actually into TV series, right? And crossed over that way, started out, again, coordinating and then moving up, right? So TV series and then
Which
movies,
TV
because then you can, whenever you kind of make a move, no matter where you are, you kind of have to step down to be able to step up again. I mean, it's kind of the normal sort of thing. Can't expect to, at least at that point, I didn't feel. Maybe some people feel they can do that, but at that point, I didn't feel I could, because I needed to get back in there and show people what I could do.
What
So
what what was the first TV series in Miami that you remember working on?
well, the first the first one that I worked on was not a TV series, was a movie called Scam. And this is a funny story. It's funny and sad story at the same time. So I was working on that, and then I got an offer to work on the TV series, which was the Key West TV series, in a higher position. Yeah, but this is where it gets funny. This is where everybody needs to know that you need to know where all the bodies are buried and do your research, because I decide that I'm going to leave, and I tell them, I got another offer, and they are like, okay, we'll replace you. And so I move over to the TV series, which was the Key West series, and I get a call from the head of production of Viacom, and he said, who the hell do you think you are? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah. He said, you left one of our shows to go on to this other one. And like, I did not know that the one that I was going on to was a Viacom show, because it had done through a separate production company. So anyhow, he wanted to rattle me. His name was Paul Mason. He wanted to rattle me, but he didn't. And I just said, look, if you're the boss, if you want me to go back to the other one, I will, or I'll stay where I am. And so he liked that answer. And he came down, and he actually came as a surprise, probably a couple of days later, flew in from LA and met me. And then we literally became friends after that, because, I was, right. So he was fine with me staying on, and he understood, but he was like, who the heck do you, seriously, that was my welcome. Who do you think you are, that you can leave one of our shows and go to another, and there'll be no repercussions? I'm thinking, okay, let me just be honest, or I'm going to get fired, or I could be fired anyhow. So, so that was sort of my first, foray into it.
And was that, Sandy, was that before or after Miami Vice? Because a lot of the people I knew in Miami.
It was after. Yeah, after Miami Vice. But I have to go back to Miami Vice, because I actually worked on Miami Vice. That was really before I left to go to LA, and in between the time, I always forget about it. I coordinated second unit, like those the wet downs and the that kind of stuff, the night stuff. Yeah, all night stuff. So yeah, that was
a lot of the people I knew back then in Miami were, and I just can't remember anyone's names, but location managers, Maria,
like Fabio Arbor, Maria Chavez.
Fabio Arbor.
Yeah, Maria Chavez. Yeah, that was kind of the team there. But I freelanced. That was sort of, that was a freelance gig, but I wasn't on there permanently. But when they had second unit, I would jump in and do that. And that was well, at that time it was so easy, because there was nothing around. I can remember shooting something on Ocean Drive, and I had an AD that was yelling, all you old people, get back inside. We're shooting something here. Like down, it was no one there but, older people. I mean, I'm dating myself, but it's true. But it was so much easier. Like, you could close streets. It didn't matter. They were like, yeah, sure. Why not? Wet it down. We don't care. We don't care what you do. Do stunts. We're fine. There's no one here, So that was, it was much easier times to be able to do that. Of course, now I'm in the position of having to get all of that cleared, or not. My staff does anyhow, not me. But it is. But I did. Before I came into this position, I was a step down. I actually, just kind of fast forwarding it a little bit. I was in the business for however many years, a long time, and then I have kids, right? So I was a single mom to two boys. One of my sons was getting into a really bad crowd. Joan knows this whole story.
It's a good one.
Getting into a really bad crowd. And I said I had to step away from production and pay attention to my kids. Now, I did not intend on leaving the business, but about 6 months in, it was the first time in my life I had a regular life. Like I was always in, freelance or on my business. It was always go, 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 and so this is the first time I kind of slowed down, and I needed to pay attention to them and not pay attention as much to me. And I decided 6 months in that I needed to leave the business. And I literally handed all my clients to other people, and they're going, "What are you, dying? Or, what's going on?" Because everybody knew I was so passionate about this business. I said, "I just need to step away. I don't know what I'm going to do." And so that was in like March of 2007. I luckily had made enough money that I could, take the time off and to figure out. I thought I was going to move to Colorado and open a bakery, no lie. And then it was coming up like January of 2008. I remember Michelle Marks, do you remember Michelle Marks?
I remember that name so well. What did she do?
Michelle was a very famous first assistant director who worked on Jaws, and I mean, on second unit of Jaws, and I mean, everything, True Lies, you name it. She was the go-to person, and she was amazing. She was my closest friend, and unfortunately she passed away literally right after I moved into the commission, as the film commissioning position. But she pushed me. She goes, "You need to go. There's an opening at the film office doing permits." I'm like, that's like, what is it? It's such a low paying job. She's like, "You will be the next film commissioner." And she goes, "Just do it. I guarantee you." And I'm like going, "Michelle, I think I'm over." She goes, "You're totally overqualified, but you can do this with your eyes closed. And it's needed. I'm telling you, go." So I went, and of course I knew the film commissioner, which was Jeff Peel, right? I knew him very well. And he's like, "Why do you want this job?" I'm like, "Well, Michelle told me I should take the job." I said, "But," he goes, "But I don't want, you to come here and then you say it's beneath you and then move on because, we want something consistent." I said, "No, if I'm going to come here, I'm going to come and put both my feet in and move forward." Long story short, I got the job. I was there 2 years before he left, and then I became the film commissioner because he decided to retire early. So I was, so that's kind of that sort of fast forward motion to that. And, I was lucky to actually, go ahead.
I just wanted to say at this point that as somebody watching from the outside, that it was so exciting to have somebody coming from production into that role. That was really the thing that felt so important. I didn't know you back then, but it just felt really important.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it makes a big deal. Like for example, I just had a conversation with someone, to be nameless, in a studio that I had not spoken to before. And then they start trying to explain something to me. I say, "Let me stop you." And I do this all the time. I would come from production. They're like, "Oh, okay." And that helps a huge bit because people know that you've been in the trenches, and I have. So, and then I designed our office, obviously to cater to the industry, even more so because I come from the industry. And, that's how I've really, the office I've made so that we're so film friendly because I want customer service like I would have wanted on the other side. So yeah, I think that was important. But I'll tell you something what was important, because it's interesting that you should say that. When I stepped into this position, actually beforehand, and Jeff and I would talk all the time, he'd say, I said, "I think that having a background in the industry is important to be a film commissioner." And he was like, "No, truthfully, you need to actually learn the politics." And with one thing, he was right about that. And for those couple of years that I was in the lower position, it was me actually learning the ropes of how to manipulate. I should say, manipulate this, it wasn't manipulate. It's more about learning how to actually, going out and doing what I did as a producer, literally going and meeting every park manager, meeting the directors, doing all of that kind of stuff, eventually, of course, going into the realm of having to meet legislators and all of that, because that's part of it. Then meeting commissioners and all of those things I would reach out to, to talk and to see what the concerns were. And, we're a very large, metropolis with, 30,000 employees. So, and 2,000 square miles of of cities and municipalities and what we, comes under our purview. So I reached out and I did those. So I learned the politics first, and then I learned the next set of politics after I got into this position of having to deal with, how you actually talk to, commissioners and state legislators and all of that. And that made a big difference on how, to be able to get my point across pretty quickly and let them understand, what we're trying to do and coming from the industry, I say this all the time, especially legislators, like I had a company, I wrote all those checks. Joan knows because she worked for me, wrote all those checks. I know the amount of money that goes into a local economy because I lived it. Right. Yeah. So that's just, that's and I think it is very important. And there are some film commissioners, we belong to AFCI, the Association of Film Commissioners International. There are some that have background in the industry. I don't, my background also gives me passion. So my passion is for, where I grew up, which was Miami. I grew up in Miami. My passion is for the people that I used to work for and the new people I meet, right? So to make sure that they're working, that's part of my job. So it's different for me in some ways because I have a passion for it. I love this industry. I came from it. I still feel like I'm in it, just that I don't go to the set all the time, right? So, I still feel I'm part of the family, the film family.
And how many years have you been in this position now?
I've been in the position for coming up 11 years, and I've been at the film office for 13 coming up. Yeah. Yeah.
So the big thing that happened, again, looking at it from the outside, was when Miami-Dade or Florida, everybody lost their tax incentives.
Yes.
Yes. And you became, you spearheaded a movement to try to change that. And how long had you been in the role when that happened?
So we had, I started in, 2011, I guess, in this role as the film commissioner. We had the incentive for just under a year, right? So we were going gangbusters, right? We went gangbusters until probably 2013, and then it dwindled off because we had no more tax credits because they had put it out for out years. It wasn't even that we had a certain amount of year. They opened them all up at once, that's a whole nother discussion, why that doesn't work very well.
When you were going gangbusters, what were the shows that you had at that time in Miami?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So we had burn notice, but we didn't have burn notice because of the incentive, because they were here before that, but they did get the incentive. Right. So we had burn notice. We had Step Up 4, we had Graceland, we had Magic City, Bloodline, Ballers, and tons of movies. Rock of Ages that we replicated. That was the coolest thing. We replicated LA in Miami. That was, like what was it, like 80s LA. So yeah, I mean, we did, that was actually crazy. We did whole reverse traffic patterns and all of that. That was fun. So we, that's just a few, just to name a few, that we had. Then we had Marley and Me thing happened right about that. Right. Yeah. We had Marley and Me as well. I mean, so there's a lot more. There were movies and there were TV series going on. I'm missing a TV series somewhere in there, but nonetheless, we were very busy. And then of course, everything dried up because, meanwhile, we knew it was going to dry up because of how they had done these out credits. So we were advocating all along. After I think it was 2011, we got another infusion of some money. We started with 242 million, and then we had another 12 million put in, and then eventually we came up to 300 million. But it was because of how it was structured, it was all gone really quickly. It was sunsetted in 2016, but we had, our credits were gone, because they were, taken up by the TV shows, probably 2015, right? So that's now almost 6 years. But we advocated the entire time, and we continue to advocate. But I will say that we come up to session again now in March, and we have two bills. The first time we have bills that are filed this far in advance that are matching. They just, the House bill just came out last night. So very happy that House Bill 757 and Senate Bill 704 are out there. And, my whole morning was, writing to legislators saying, hey, please co-sponsor. I mean, that's what, that's a ton of emails. And then after this, I follow up with phone calls to legislators. So that's what, that's what it is. We've done a really good education effort, and I say we because Film Florida is the nonprofit industry stakeholder organization that's across the state from Pensacola all the way down to Key West. It's not just film commissioners; it's industry stakeholders, crew, cast, you name it, companies all together, and we work together to advocate for the industry. So that's we helped, we actually crafted the program, and I will say that I'm proud to say that some of the program that was written is based on my local incentive program, some of the caveats, right? So because it was a proven high ROI to our
right.
local, yeah.
So you're actually working now then on Florida-wide incentives, is what you're saying?
I always have. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, I mean, I have local incentives that were passed, a couple of years ago, but I'm always working on statewide incentives. It is literally 365 days a year. The minute people get elected or reelected, we're doing meetings. This year it was Zoom meetings or phone calls. Other times it's literally going to offices and not just doing in Miami-Dade, but traveling to see legislators in other areas, right? So yeah, it's a roadshow. Besides my normal work, by the way, of trying to get business here and working on the educational realm of things, and so many other initiatives that we have in our office. But go ahead, I'm sorry, Joanne. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say that I worked with Film Florida. The last thing I did in Miami before I left was to create the Florida feature film competition. I always make my personal joke is that's the sexiest name I've ever heard. The Florida feature film competition. But I worked with, and we had a prize of $25,000 in cash and $175,000 worth of goods and services to make a feature film.
Right.
And did it once, and then I left. But it was really, really cool having people from all over the state be involved in this project and see how it just felt like such a wonderful thing to have people support something, on a state level.
I will say across the state, we all work together and we support each other, and that's not always the case in some areas, so we do work together. We are in competition with each other, but in that sense, Orlando doesn't have what we have, right? There are a couple of places that have what we have, but the truth is no one has what Miami has, because there's a character here that, besides the fact that our locations are so diverse, from everything from hills. Yes, we have hills, I will tell you, as well as like waterfalls that have clear lagoons like Hawaii, I mean, you could, right. Yeah. People don't know this. And you can shoot downtown for New York City or Chicago, or anywhere USA type of houses, to Mediterranean look and Spanish look, and and I mean the list goes on and on. So yeah, we're a lot. In fact, we have a campaign going on right now on social media called Hidden Treasures, and it's the unusual things that you wouldn't on our Film Miami one. It's Film Miami one for Twitter, and it's we have hidden gems. And just like I just had to approve one today that was this amazing looking barn that you would never know that was here. I mean, so yeah, a barn. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I mean, we have tons of agriculture. That's another thing people don't think about. We have tons of agriculture, and we have fields, and the hills that I'm talking about. We have two sets of hills. One is a landfill down south that's closed, right? That looks like Afghanistan. And then there's one out west that's closed for 20 years that literally it has roads through it, and it's hills, and it's green. And if you I even, was there looking at it with clients, and a tractor went through, and I'm like going, and they're like, and they look at me and they go, "This looks like we're in Iowa," and it was true. So it's very, we are very diverse. But then again, we also have things that everybody knows about, and you can't really replicate. You can't replicate Ocean Drive. You can't, you can't replicate, our downtown, with the water and all of that. You can't replicate it. So people try, and most of the projects that try, and I won't say where they shoot them because I don't want to disparage anybody else, where they might shoot them, the projects really haven't been successful. The only project that I could say right now that's successful is One Night in Miami that shot not a stitch here. I was devastated. I worked on that for 2 years to try to get them. And great producers, but I come from the industry. So when they're telling me, Sandy, we have Regina King, we have all of this stuff. We need to put as much as we can on screen, and Louisiana is going to give us this amount of money. How do I say to them, oh, no? That said, I watched it. And of course, I look at it and I go, that is not the Hampton House. That is not, that's not. And it's still, I still believe that projects are way more successful when they shoot where they're supposed to be shot, because you have the essence of what it is, and then, and no matter that I'm in this position or not, I still think that creatively, I think that has that part of our industry, because everybody's chasing incentives, is I think it affects stories. I definitely think it affects the story. That's me.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned.
So back when I worked for Maria and Fabio for a while, and we would come and look at files of locations.
Oh my God, yes, so long ago.
They were in manila folders.
Oh yes, these people don't know what that is. They have to do panoramas, and you have to tape them so everything looks, and then it would go past the folder, and you'd fold it. Oh yeah, oh yes, have to go print this. And that was, when you think about it, you'd go scout, you'd have to have enough time to come back to make those files, right? To then get those files either out in FedEx or get them, at that point, not even, scanning or sending. We didn't even really do, this is basically the abacus days, as I say. I still have a strip board of scheduling board that literally we did it with strips. And then you would take this and you write it in pencil and you change it around. Yeah.
Yes. And I worked on a lot of commercials, but I also worked on Fair Game.
Oh, yes. Fair Game. Yes. Yep. And there was Fair Game at that time. And then there was the one with the Specialist with with Sylvester Stallone. Oh, yeah. And with a Holy Man. I can name them all, even though I was working in the business at that point. So, but I traveled a lot. When I came back here, I actually then traveled everywhere to do work, which was funny. I did. So it was sad at the same time. Tried to do at least the commercial work here, but a lot of the other stuff had, traveled to do, because, I had to go where the work was. Hence why I had to, my kids were going, yeah, where's mom? We're not going to be good kids. Of course, now they're fantastic. They're 22 and, almost 23 and almost 26. One being in the business and is and works at the camera house and is also a colorist. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good to know. Always good to know another colorist. So I have a sense of what a producer comes to the film office for. Most of my people on here maybe have made some short films, maybe have not made their first feature. So and I know your job is to bring business to Miami. So you probably want, a big series or something like that.
No, but I want small.
I know you do. I know you.
No, I'm not that way. I'll take anything from student projects, which become the next big thing, to, emerging filmmakers, or ones that have, that are very experienced. I want everybody.
So let's say somebody is making a film, maybe it's like $200,000 film, and they come to you. What could they what kind of help could they hope to get from you?
Okay,
from
so
your office?
okay, so first of all, we're considered like a back office to any production. So first of all, the simple things are you're looking for locations. We have over 1,500 locations in our database. That's not 1,500 pictures. That's 1,500 locations with multiple
Yes.
pictures.
Yes.
And we can help you, if you have obviously a limited budget, we will try to direct you to places that we know. If you say, look, we need help, can you make suggestions about something that's more cost effective? I mean, things aren't free, but at least we know we can steer you in a direction that's going to be less, be more cost effective for you. I mean, we do have one free location, which happens to be a beach. So that helps a bit. And so there's that. We also, if you are working outside, so I represent, gets a little complicated. So I represent the entire county, and what we permit for our office, my staff, even though we represent the county, we're the disseminators of information for the entire county. We market the entire county. No one else really markets themselves. We do all of that. Our permitting, jurisdiction is unincorporated Miami-Dade County, all of our county facilities and buildings, and 260 parks, the airport, the seaport. So that's what we permit for, plus 15 municipalities. However, we still represent all of the municipalities, and whether we permit for them or we don't. And we push people towards wherever they want to go when it comes to, we give that information. So let's say you want to shoot in Coral Gables. We don't permit for them, but we give you all the information and give you the guidelines. We actually have all that stuff on our website, of what they require. But we also say, look, if you have a low budget, maybe you should go here and not there, because that place has, film photo fees that cost, this amount of money. If you could do this look out in unincorporated Miami-Dade County. And if we can find something for you in unincorporated Miami-Dade County, it's the best, because if you shoot on private property, you don't need a film permit, as long as everything, including all of your, your trucks and everything, or whatever you might have, is on that property. Right, makes it much simpler. So we try to push people that are, especially with lower budgets, that it's going to cost less for something like that. I will say, and I'm going to be honest, during COVID, there is one expense on public property you have to have, and that's a police officer for every 20 cast and crew, because they are our eyes and ears to make sure that there's safety, that everybody's wearing their mask, that everybody's social distancing. Even when you're on camera, they're on camera, and then they put a mask to their face afterwards. I mean, it's that much is important, because we haven't had an outbreak here. We haven't had no outbreaks here. So yes, knock on wood, which I am at a wood table. So
I actually should tell you, Sandy,
Yeah.
a friend of mine went to shoot a commercial up in West Palm recently, and he told me a story. I'm not going to say where it was or anything, but
Okay.
where he came in with the film crew, and the manager came out and told them to remove their masks. And he was able to say, well, Florida law says that this, and this.
Right.
But they were literally told to remove their masks.
That's interesting. Yeah.
West Palm.
And guess what? Well, wherever that was, if that was a private property, that location person or the producer needed to find that out ahead of time, right? Those are some of the things that people don't think about, but they need to find out, because you don't want to go into, if you feel very strict about, wearing masks, and I give advice about this a lot. If you want to follow all those rules to make it safe, if you go to a location and they don't like that, you need to find that out ahead of time. So that's not the location you want to be to. Also,
Right.
when this all started, the first thing I said to producers, I said, even to the seasoned, I said, guess what you're going to need to do? You need to vet your crew. You need to find out what their beliefs are, because if it's not the same as yours, it's going to be a mess. So you need,
Yes.
whether it is wearing masks or not wearing masks, I'm saying, whatever I'm for safety and wearing masks, but that's up to you, whatever you want. You have to have the same ideals at this point, because it has become, important. If you want to have you don't want to have a break in your, people walking off or whatever, that's very important when you're prepping, right?
Yep.
So, but we digress, because we were talking about something else.
We came from when a filmmaker comes to you,
Yes.
what kind of help? So it sounds like you're almost getting into helping them figure out like budgeting issues
Well, we
because
do.
you're.
We do. I mean, I won't, I can't budget for you technically, but but I help with saying, hey, this is what this might cost. We obviously give you all the contacts for whatever the locations are. So you negotiate with those locations. But yeah, we do. We help with that. That's part of what we do. We also, for those lower budgets. So we have an incentive for the county. I'll explain that in a second. But it's at a higher price point. So it's $500,000 and up. But Miami Beach has one as for $10,000. They have a $10,000 one, but it can't be a short film. It has to be like a feature length film. But you have to spend $25,000 in Miami Beach and shoot there at least 3 days, and you get 10,000 back. That's pretty good. That's not bad. That's not bad, So, so there also in North Miami, there's an incentive. Also, it's kind of convoluted. There's different ways to get there. You have to shoot in their more underutilized area, and then you can get up to like $15,000 there. If you shoot someplace else and you spend a certain amount of money, then you can get free police. Things like that. So, in kind, stuff, but yeah, they also have one. So, when it's a small project, I say, don't forget that you can go and stack those. You can shoot both of those places. And if you have enough for mine, you can stack all of them together. Plus also, and I'll go back to my incentive in a second, the state of Florida has a 7.5%, up to 7.5% sales tax exemption. So on your rentals, on your equipment and your locations and all of that, that's, and people forget about that. And that's such an easy certificate to literally apply for. It's so simple. Like you fill out the form, you prove what you need to prove, which is simple. And then you can get that. So that's what's great about that. I'll just quickly say, I know it's not necessarily the price point of what this audience is, but real quick, we have a local incentive that has 2 tiers, one starting $500,000 to under $1 million, where it's a rebate of $50,000. And if you spend $1 million or more, it's a rebate of $100,000, not for every, sorry, $1 million spend, $100,000 rebate. If you spend $2 million, you still only get $100,000. Right. So I always make that very clear. Caveats are you have to shoot on both tiers. 70% of your production has to be shot in Miami-Dade County. 70% of your residents have to be Miami-Dade County residents, and that does not include background extras. And then 70% of your vendors have to be Miami-Dade County businesses. Somewhere in your project, you have to have some sense of Miami. Doesn't have to be the whole project, just somewhere in there. And you have to hire a student or a recent graduate from a local university. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great thing to build in.
Oh yes. And we have that actually on the state one. You have to hire a student and you have to hire a veteran.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. That's on the state side. That's on the state. Yeah. I would like to have, my next plan is to try to have inclusion in ours, but it's always baby steps.
Yes.
Like I just changed it again. I just changed it from, we used to actually have to, and on our local incentive, you had to have a certain amount of people, like for the $500,000 to under $1 million, you had to hire 20 people of residents. And then for the $1 million plus, you had to hire 40. Now it's a percentage, and the percentage is much easier to get to, because let's say you have 10 people, it's 7 of them, right? So it's actually easier than that other amount of people. So then a certain amount as a percentage is better.
Well, let's see if anyone has any questions. Sometimes I open it up for questions and everybody just goes completely silent.
Yes, I know. Please, I'm very approachable. I must say something, because we had this. I was on the Sundance panel, and I was on the Sundance panel, and we talked amongst. This was brought up, the fact that a lot of beginning filmmakers get afraid to reach out to the film office. That we are here. That's what our job is. We're here to help you, right? And people seem to be afraid, maybe because it's a governmental agency. Like we are, in Miami-Dade County, we're the oddballs. Like everybody's like, oh, it's the film office. They're weird, because we are like the industry. But everybody feels like, oh, it's government. They're gonna try to regulate us. No, we're here to help you. We're here to make it easy for you. So just want to say that. And then please,
I think that is the fear. Oh, they're going to regulate. intimidate us. Oh, they're going to make us
No,
do.
we want to help you, you know?
No. So, as always, I ask people to raise their hands. And Diane, go ahead, ask a question.
Hello, Sandy. It's so great to thank you, Joanne, as ever. I'm always amazed. Every one of these interviews, I always hear a little bit more about all of the things that Joanne has done before she's wearing that she's wearing now, and it's so amazing. I am old enough to remember those, the stripped budget.
Oh wow,
I'm working on a documentary right now. It's my first feature, and it's a documentary. Yes, thank you. And it's a documentary celebrating 6 to 7 female artists who have experienced physical or sexual trauma, and exploring how it is that we empower not only ourselves, but our communities with our artistic practices. And it's anchored on my own story of surviving a beating and a rape in January of 2010. Wow. Very importantly, how I'm coming out of it, because obviously my artistic practice is being a filmmaker. We're going into our 3rd week on our crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. So I'm happy to share the link in the chat, just if people can share that or check it out, that would be absolutely amazing. Financial support, welcome. And so thank you for that. And I have to say, I hope this doesn't sound sexist, but it is so amazing to see women like at Sundance. And I love working with Joanne, and it's really wonderful seeing women that in positions where you're really sort of like Sundance. I mean, it was very women led. Yeah. And it's wonderful to see that, because certainly when I started, there were not too many women in a lot of positions. So anyway, I guess I'm just curious. This is a fairly general question, but I'm right now I'm working on a documentary. And how would a documentary filmmaker take advantage of your offices? Because obviously my needs are very different than a narrative, someone who's working on a narrative.
We have a lot of documentary filmmakers, it depends on what you're looking for. So if you're looking to, for example, if you were looking to find, survivors, right? We could actually put that out, even in, whether it be an email blast or on social media. I mean, things like that we do, we will do that for sure. Yes. For filmmakers.
Because I know one of the things that we're having to deal with right now is because of COVID, I've had to re-strategize in terms of the way we're shooting certain pieces of what we're doing. And I can imagine it would be really helpful to be able to go to someone and say, this is what I need in terms of location.
Yeah, that's no brainer for us to do for you. Absolutely. And I say this, and Joanne's good at this as well, for you actually, if you really put your mind to it, you could get funding easily. That subject matter is, so relevant right now. I would check out, honestly, the corporate social responsibility departments, whether it be even HBO, who gives money, who will look at something like that, to anything like Coca-Cola, or I'm just throwing out names, but they most corporations have social responsibility departments.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's very relevant, right now for sure. And also, I would look at, where are you located?
I'm in Santa Barbara, California, and we actually are just starting to reach out for sponsorship. So this is extremely relevant.
Also, I would get support locally from, whether it be your, female council of either it's commissioners or council, people, they're not called, I don't say councilmen, but, council members, or, I would definitely, because they actually, a lot of people in politics have a lot of connections to money too. And it's not something you should be afraid of, especially with relevant subjects. And, and I'm not trying to be sexist either, but you find females that you speak to about this, or it will resonate. So I actually think you have an easier route than most if you put your mind to
That's good,
actually,
yeah, okay.
looking, finding, doing some research. And I've said this a lot of times because it's how I operated when, I was raising money. You have to find people that have the like minds of, or have either have an interest in this, and you could search, even online for locally to find people that, might be either philanthropists that might, be supporting, whether it be a shelter or something that now know that this would be something that would be their subject. So that's how I would go about. Whether you come to my area or not, I hope that information, works for you. I mean, some people say, well, why are you so generous with information? And I'm like, because eventually you'll remember me and you'll say, let me shoot something in that area. If I have any way to hook somebody up to make something because of my my connections, why wouldn't I do that? It's no skin off of my back. I'm not out there. I'm not in competition. I'm there to help. That's what I'm there to do. And I say that, I'm not all film offices work that way, but that's how I work.
All right. Well, thank you for that information.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Yeah. So it's great to meet you.
Karen, go ahead. I think you're muted.
Yeah, you have to. I must tell you, the unmute button. I said that should have been the
Yes.
person of the year. Please unmute.
I said that.
I'm sure Joanne did. So, hi Sandy, and hi.
Karen.
So I was wondering, I'm working on two projects, or more than two, but one of the ones is a documentary that will cross into a museum space, and I was wondering whether there'd be any funding for that. It will span actually the Keys back up into Miami, and a project that actually deals with slavery, but tying more of South Florida's history, which I think a lot of people don't know about.
That's interesting. Are you from Miami? Are you from this area or not?
Yeah, I'm from Miami, but I also went away for a long time. I lived in London for a long time, but I'm back here. So that's one of my projects. And speaking of, I had a project that Joanne, I'm working with Joanne on, that was based in Paris about sex trafficking. It was more stylized, but actually during the elections, or working a little on the elections, I think some of the Congress, or one of the new state representatives, Kevin Chambliss, was talking about sex trafficking in Miami and Homestead and everything like that. So, and I really wasn't thinking, I think of otherwise. So it's like a narrative film that I'm interested in exploring.
Miami. Miami.
I know, so I have to find out now.
Well, Karen, so first of all, these times I'm actually working from my house, and I don't live in Miami. I live in Fort Lauderdale, which is hilarious. People say, but I always feel like I'm representing the whole state. Karen, you should take my email and let's exchange. And anybody can have my email. It's fine. It's simple. It's Sandy Lighterman, which is, I think, on my screen right there. LIGHTERMAN at Miami-Dade. That's miamidade.gov. And I think that there would definitely be possibilities for interest in funding something like that. And it would, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I can give you some tips. I mean, there's some commissioners that could get behind that. They actually have some discretionary funds. You said museums, I need to learn a little bit more. I didn't want to take up everybody's time here, but I certainly would like to learn more about the project to see what direction I can help you in for that, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. That would be great.
My pleasure.
We have time for one more question. Who has a question? Raise your hand or unmute.
Come on, really? Come on.
Hi,
Wow.
my name is Sophia. Hello, Joanne.
Hi. Hi, very well. Good to see you. Hear you. Good to hear you.
Thanks, Joanne. Hello, Sandy. I have a question. So during the pandemic time, I know everyone is really hard and it is really bad for our filmmaking industry. What did you do during this time?
Oh, so you want to know what I did? That's an interesting question. So my staff and I, we were extremely busy. So first of all, we were, let's see, we had we have a thing called a TV movie virtual tour map. And we just created a music map. It's called the Magic City Music Map. So we were working on that. That's something that we worked on the side. That's on our website. So, you know, movie map is something that interestingly to go out there. But we were working actually on attracting production safely also to our area. And that's why we created, even though we were shut down for a period of time, I kept in touch with all of the, you know, everybody that I could to say, hey, the minute we open up, I'm going to let you know, and we're going to open up safely. I worked on many different plans for opening up safely, which were unfortunately at the time not even actually taken into consideration until we opened up. And then I could actually say, don't forget about us. That was a couple of things that I actually worked on, a couple of different ways to open us up safely. Still keeping in touch with people so the minute we did open up that we would get traffic. And despite the fact that, we won't talk about politics or Florida and being wide, some of it being wide open, but we've, as I said, so luckily we haven't had any COVID outbreaks, and we are so busy. We are so busy with production right now. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy. I'm surprised at how busy we are during COVID. And that's because everybody's operating safely. So it was, I think, just keeping in touch with everybody, making sure that that we were on top of mind, so that when we came back safely, we were shut down from March until May. That was our end of May. So kind of middle of March to end of May, we did not permit for anything. And during that time, I just kept in touch with everybody and made plans on how to come back safely.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Sandy has legislators she has to go and persuade. So we have 2 hands up. I don't know if you can take any more questions.
I can take those too. I got to give this person a call by 1:15. So
super quick. Edward, go ahead. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, he's good. There you are. You're unmuted.
No, we're not hearing you.
Oh, I'm not hearing you. No, it says it's unmuted.
Yeah, it says you're unmuted, but let's go to Darian and we'll come back to you if we can. Okay, Darian, go ahead. Are you muted? Darian? Can you speak? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Is it me? I don't know what's going on.
It's strange. Sometimes people have issues with Zoom where that happens, and I don't know why that happens.
I know. The only solution.
Hey, Sandy. Hey, Joanne.
Dorian, go ahead.
Hi, Dorian.
Sorry. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Joanne. My apologies. I had a couple quick questions.
Okay.
I was just curious, what kind of projects do you get approached with the most? And what do you see as the future of film in Miami?
Okay, so what we get, well, I want to say approach. So me personally get approached. I'm talking to Netflix, Amazon, Apple, who's the other? HBO. I mean, so those are bigger projects. I also get approached by smaller projects. We have right now a local company that produces basically Lifetime movies for about $300,000, right? So we have that going on. I get approached by students, right? A lot of students that need help, trying to find something that won't cost them money. So we get approached by so many different, entities. We have a very large, I want to say large and very talented content creating community. So I'm there for all of those guys too, which is exactly what you all are as well, So there's that, but we also, our bread and butter here is commercials. It always has been. So we have what we have shooting here, a lot of commercials and high-end commercials. We're talking, we have a commercial that's $1 million, 9 days. We have, I know you're going like, where I could use some of that money. I know,
I mean, 10%.
Exactly. We have $500,000, $300,000, $100,000 commercials. We also have smaller stuff. We have $20,000 commercials, but the range is so far and wide. So it's not just one area. The one thing we don't have, I'll tell you what we don't have. We don't have TV series, and we won't until we have a state incentive. So, my whole catering is always to everybody, but you know what? I have a sweet spot for independent filmmakers. So, that's where our incentive works. And that's where we work best with those who don't want to get lost in the fray in other locations, not to be named outside of the state, because there's so much production going on, people don't care about you, right? We care about you. So I say, come to us. And then you had a second question. What was the second one?
Yeah, the
Can you
second
hear me?
one was, what do you see the future of filmmaking in Miami becoming? Like, what do you see for the future of film in Miami?
So, it's interesting, with incentive or not incentive, I still think that Miami, there's so many stories here by themselves without anybody even, just open up a newspaper, there's no newspapers anymore. Open up the internet and see, lizard, iguanas falling from trees because it's too cold. I mean, that's, it's true. I mean, I'm telling you, there's so many stories here. So I don't think I always have felt, and we continue to be, a player in this state where we're still the busiest area of the state, even though there's other parts of the state actually that have even a better incentive than I have. We're still the busiest. And that's because, again, you can't replicate what we have in a lot of places. And on the other hand, you can replicate other places here. So I actually think it's very healthy. I also think because of COVID, I think that we are very, popular for a couple of reasons. We have so many wide open spaces, and that is very attractive because of airflow and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's really important, and that's why we are getting a lot of projects. Yes. As well as, to relocate to the state of Florida, guess what? The reason it's very hard for us to get an incentive program is the very reason why you'd want to move here. And that's because we don't have a state income tax. And so therefore, you guys, everybody like me, it's great. However, there's no big pot of money to delve from. And that's part of the issue of it. So I see it's pretty healthy. And I think, is it Edward? I think he has figured it out. Are you available? Are you good?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Dorian. Thank you. Hopefully that answers.
Okay. So the reason why the microphone might not work for some is because you probably have speakers connected to your tablet or computer. That's what it was. I just unhooked my speakers.
I gotcha.
Okay. So my question is, so I have been developing projects for 20 years. And since the COVID hit really hard and 16 family members got sick and 2 passed away of my family, I'm just not going to risk it. One of them was one of my brothers, and my father lives with me. He lives on the other side of the house, and I just cannot go on set. I'm not going to risk my health or his health. So I started developing projects to be filmed remotely and animated projects. So my question is, how many animated projects to benefit from the incentives that you have, or how would that work for animated projects?
Animated projects are welcome. We haven't had any that have applied. You just have to meet the threshold of, the caveats of hiring people, of hiring businesses, the amount of spend, and having some sense in your animation of Miami. Honestly, animated projects are welcome. We even incentivize reality shows. I mean, that was something that was taken out and then put back in. So, so animated projects, digital media projects, as long as you meet the minimum threshold. Now, on Miami Beach, the lower incentives, which was the $10,000 one, that wouldn't apply because they want physical production there, meaning that right. But ours would work for you if your projects are $500,000 or more. And I'm really sorry to hear about your family. I lost a family member as well. My son also had COVID. My younger one, he's still positive, but he's okay, still after 3 weeks. So, it's very, I get it. And I understand. And there's a lot of people that have been in your position who say, I don't want to go onto a set and because it's too dangerous. And I get that very much so. All I will tell you though, is if you go on a set, even if you go to the grocery store, in my opinion, wear a shield over your face and a mask. And I say that because the way my son got it, because he works in medical cannabis, and he got it from a staffer, and they had to all be masked, and he didn't get it, and he has asthma, right? And but he did not get it in his lungs. because he got it through. So sorry. Sorry, that's me. He got it through his eyes. And
That's how my brother got it.
Yeah.
That's how we believe that my brother got it. Yeah.
So the shield, I'm telling you, covering your eyes is really important. And glasses don't cut it, folks.
Yes.
You can get in from the side. So I have a shield that actually has glasses, and I don't wear glasses, but it has it's a glass frame that's built in, so you can put the glasses on and the shield's over it. And it literally, and I have masks that are literally tight to my face because, but very breathable. So
I actually made a couple of YouTube videos on how to make shields out of just acetate or whatever plastic. Normally your computer screens or your tablet screens come with an acetate that you can use to and you just can put it into a bandana or your glasses, even tape it to your glasses. So it's very easy to do that.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about your family, and I get it. But there's been a lot of people have done what you've done, and
Thank you very much.
They've actually done. They've been home and they've been creating content. And guess what? All that content is going to be needed because we broke the internet. There's nothing left to watch. So so it's time. All of the content that you guys are creating, just wait. It's going to be needed. So I say, hold on to your hats, folks. You all might be rich very soon. and with that, I'm going to have to, have to dash, but look, it was great seeing everybody. Honestly, my pleasure to do this. And anytime anybody has any questions or anything, please, send me an email and we'll make an arrangement for a time to talk, because I will tell you every minute of my day is taken up. So I say, let's schedule a time. So, yeah.
And I just want to say, really, I wrote it in the chat, but just,
I'm sorry.
Maybe not every film commissioner where you are in the country is going to be as fabulous as Sandy, but you know what? Reach out and maybe you'll be lucky.
There are some great ones out there. There really are. I mean, there are some, and I say, what does it hurt to make a call to,
Exactly. Sandy, thank you so much for giving us your time. And now I have the whole story from the very beginning, from when you were 11.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. And you guys all have a good rest of the day if you're going to continue on. Okay.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. So there are some people I've never seen before. Brooke, Sonia, Richard. Where are you all based? Brooke, where are you based?
I'm in Hallandale, Florida. So Hallandale Beach, it's like right by Aventura.
Yes,
I
know it's well.
Yeah, it's honestly like the perfect location to go south or north. So it's great. I graduated from FAU not too long ago.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm doing a whole bunch of spring cleaning right now. So if you see bags everywhere, that's it. I was studying theater performance. So this is something I'm super interested in. I think that any sort of entertainment behind the screens, the screen, it all intrigues me. So I'm trying to bite at anything I can get to educate myself. And this was amazing. Thank you for having me.
Well, lovely to have you. And Sonia, where are you located?
Hi, I'm in Miami Beach in Surfside.
Yay! Okay, Surfside. Okay. Yes, I was heading back to Miami to live, and I got sidetracked. I'm in Missoula, so I can't quite explain it. But and are you a filmmaker, Sonia?
I work with a filmmaker. We just got together and have a little production company and making short films here in Miami.
Yay,
We're in the process of making 2 short films. And thank you for today. One of the things that we were talking about this morning is that we needed to do something in Metro Miami and trying to figure out where to go for permits. And all my answers were here.
I mean, it's just so amazing to have Sandy as the film commissioner there, because she's just amazing. Just amazing.
Incredible.
Keith, where's my pitch deck? Keith. I was literally going to write to you today, Keith, and say, where's my pitch deck? And then you came on Zoom, but you're not speaking to me, so. anyway, and Keith, don't forget, I've got to help you with it. You don't have to finish it by yourself. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's been great seeing you all. Edward,
you,
I'm
Joanne.
so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks, Joanne. Bye.
Bye.